Hi everybody, welcome to Below the Bonnet. I'm Michael Caruso and David Reynolds is here along with Andrew Van Leeuwen and a very, very special guest today, boys, because
we have a champion. We have crowned a genuine champion.
A genuine champion.
A genuine champion. No controversy. Genuine champion. And here he joins us.
Garth Tander. Thanks for coming in, mate.
Thanks, boys. Thank you. I've been very fortunate in my career to have achieved a lot of success to varying degrees, but nothing comes close to this. This is a serious career highlight. The inaugural.
That's right, inaugural.
The one and only, possibly only two, we don't know yet.
No way. This is the start of something big.
This has got legs. We know we live in the co-driver sphere now, and this has got serious legs amongst the co-driver drivers.
Mate, this is all we think about. Yeah, I mean, you normally, you hear your co-driver chatting and they they want good tyres. Now they're demanding it. This is a big part.
Serious negotiation with the engineers. Give me good tyres.
Yeah.
That's right. I need points in the co-driver car.
How many sets of greens, Garth? How many sets of greens went into this campaign?
Exactly 0.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, none. They were green at one stage.
They were green a long time before we got them.
How's that going to change with the tyre bank rules next year?
What do you reckon?
Well, there's no tyre bank anymore.
Yeah,
so what do you do?
Tyre bank's gone. There's only there is. You're allowed one set of roaded tyres. I reckon that's what you boys will be running around.
Guess what you got?
Guess what we get?
Shitbox tyres.
Shitbox tyres, all right. We won't be ever seeing
We get to run on the warm-up allocation tyres.
Yeah,
it's funny. Actually, it's funny you say that because I was chatting with Tim Edwards in catering on the weekend, and we were just chatting about how next year we're not doing the 260 races at Taylor.
The quali races.
Yeah. So
What are we doing instead?
Nothing. We're just
a
shoot out.
I think it's
going to be into the big one on Sunday.
Oh yeah.
And we're just saying, how we mix it up. And Cam Waters actually came up with a good idea, and he goes, "Why don't we qualify the co-drivers?"
Yeah.
He said that'll really mix it up. I'm like, yeah, Cam.
Yeah.
That sounds like a great idea, buddy.
You still won't get greens.
Look, mate. Cam will make it up in the race.
That's a shame, but because that 60k co-driver race on Saturday was brilliant. It so much better than a qualifying session to sit down and watch that. It was fantastic.
I think the rain helped that.
But it's such a long, convoluted way to qualify. Qualifying starts at 12 o'clock on Saturday. It doesn't finish till 6 o'clock Saturday night. It's too long.
You're right, but it's entertaining. It's better than just watching a bunch of blokes banging out. You sit there and watch that co-driver race was good. And the sprint race is kind of fun, but then you remember when we were doing it all the time a few years ago, they weren't that good. Those non-pit stop races, they tended to not be good. So, I don't know.
I always enjoy those qualifying races, especially when I'm not driving.
Are you nervous? I mean, you're...
Not at all, no.
With those conditions, because it was pretty mixed.
Oh, yeah, you look slightly nervous, but I don't really care. Whatever happens, happens.
Surely you were. But, I mean, when I came up in the back of Luke, were you like, oh, no?
I was like, go, Luke. Drive away from him. No, it wasn't really. It's out of your hand, isn't it? Exactly. It's just part of racing.
It is.
You hand your car over.
You got to back. I mean, I remember when I was primary, you got to back your co-driver. Absolutely got to back choices.
Even if they take someone out, you're like, there's no way he was at fault. Absolutely. What was the other guy thinking? What was he thinking coming across him?
Moff on the weekend. Moff was classic, wasn't he?
He gave a good spray
to the wrong car.
To a bloke that was about 500 metres behind him.
But in fairness to him, though, when you're out there, you need to come back on eventually.
Yeah. You need some room.
Need a little bit of room. So,
but that was
awkward.
But that one with Thomas there, he was hanging onto it hard as well. In those conditions, it wasn't like he was trying to feed the bloke off the track. I think he was.
No, but I think when it's your teammate, or a car within your team, you normally. Just a little bit kinder, you're sort of a bit more spatial awareness. That's
10 laps into a qualifying race. There's still another qualifying race, another 500 k's to go.
But no doubt they would have been
championship stuff.
It is world championship stuff.
That was the co-driver cup finale. That's you got to be
the Covenant Cup.
You've got to be going at it.
That's probably it. He's probably thinking, well, I could make up some points in the co-driver cup. Who cares where I'm starting the 500?
But in all honesty, if you look at the actual. Points tally, it's all the best drivers at the top, wouldn't you say? Besides
I don't know.
Caruso down in.
Oh, is that the final point score?
Yeah, that's 5 points.
Okay.
You had it sewn up before the last race. You had it absolutely sewn up. It was all gone.
I think we've got to take some points off car 17.
Well, at Bathurst, there's absolutely no doubt. Thursday practice session and the Friday session.
We take our point system seriously here, so.
Yep. We'll get into that a bit deeper, but let's go. Let's get in. No, we will. We're obviously going to cover it.
See this, Dave? This is called a run sheet.
Yeah. Dave has no idea.
He's allergic to run sheets. He doesn't even want to look at.
I just want to press play and start talking rubbish.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you said it, Dave. We're gonna let's just quickly cover your brief appearance on Sunday.
I didn't even have an appearance on Sunday. I appeared at the track and then I watched.
You drove
cars
the warm
go
up.
around. I did do 4 laps in warm up, which is good.
How was the car?
It was actually pretty ordinary in warm up. Wasn't the best. So we made some changes for the race, and then Luke got a good start. He started third, got to the turn 1 in third, and then he got jutted off by Kostecki. I think dove him at turn 9. Is it Dandy Road?
Yeah,
that's right.
Taking someone off.
Yeah.
You might. That rings a bell for me.
That's right. Yeah, we've got something in common. And then obviously he was trying to make his way through the field again. He was trying to pass Dale, and then Dale was trying to pass the car in front. They all just seemed to squeeze each other to the fence. And the way I look at that incident, it was no one's real fault. Like, it was just one of those racing incidents. They're all squeezing each other to the fence.
I tell you what, when I came around, and you probably would have been similar, I was like, what the hell's going on? It's like
it was like a small plane crash.
It's like when you see a car driving down the highway, a straight bit of road upside down. You're like, hang on, how did they get there?
How did they get there?
Person do that? Like, you couldn't do that if you tried, but when you watch the replay, it all made sense.
Yeah, yep. And
yours was like similar person.
Same driver, similar accident.
But wheel to wheel contact's kind of different. Once the wheels sort of
grab.
But if it happened just either side of the wheel, it would have been fine.
I mean, the worst thing about that is it's 28 laps in the race. You know, you're not really racing for much that early. So yeah, to get stuck in the fence, it was pretty disappointing because we thought we were in a good little spot.
Did you have pace in your car, you think?
Yeah, yep. Yeah, and I was in a good spot.
These blokes.
Well, definitely not as much as
pace. I mean,
come from last. I mean, the car was obviously. I mean, you were both driving good. You and Shane.
You got to like
7th?
Yeah, some ridiculous.
Well, you got me, and I think I was in 6th or 7th.
Yeah, we restarted the safety car 6th.
Yeah, because I was in behind you. I was like, this is a great little spot because you were on fresh tyres.
I was on greens.
And I was like, I'm just going to sit in here, and when he goes, I'll go.
Didn't work.
Our thing was lit. It was awesome. So looked after. I mean, the thing that it was fast, but it looked after its tyres deep into the stint. So they've
always had that sort of strength. Yeah,
you've got to drive it a particular way though. So I learnt that.
Tell me.
Yeah, I'm not saying. I learnt that I didn't do that well enough at the Gold Coast on Saturday, and then I adjusted for Sunday, and it made a big difference. So then taking that into the Sandown race helped a lot. So what we could do is we were actually thinking that going to go 3-stop. And just save fuel all day and just.
It's funny.
That's how we're going to do it.
That's what we were speaking about it.
Yeah. It was so close on the economy. So it was really determined on how the first 3 laps went, how far I got.
Okay.
And then because I'd made enough and the car was quick and I could keep punching through them, they said, right, just go full fuel. We're going to 4-stop and see what you can do. So once everyone started pitting around 17 to 25, it just opened up and I had clear air.
Yeah.
And I could still, I think at that stage, Craig had pitted and had fresh tyres on, and I was still quicker than Craig on old tyres, and he was on fresh tyres. So that's then when we knew that we were in a pretty good place, and we could then make that long strategy work where we just kept stretching the fuel window towards the end.
It's funny because when we started the race, it was a similar opinion. We're like, we'll probably try to do 3, but we'll check how the deg is. And then after about 10 or 15 laps, we were like,
do 4 stops.
Everyone
had the same idea.
It's funny. I didn't think the deg would be that bad on the weekend, but it actually. Well, I mean, it obviously car performance helps at that joint because you constantly loading that right
but
rear
don't
up.
Forget also when they resurfaced the track, they resurfaced all the entries and none of the exits. So you end up carrying a heap of corner speed in, and then you can't get off the corner. So you're just sitting there wheel spinning, and you obviously want to get on with it. So the track was a lot faster. I don't know what it was like for you guys. Turn 2, the curb at turn 2, to see him heaps more aggressive this year.
Yeah.
Yep. Because they resurfaced turn 1 and the speed into 2 was so much faster. You just fire it off the curb.
The braking into 1 was the one that blew me away.
Yeah, how deep we were, so deep.
It was sort of around the 110, 120 mark. Like, it was so deep, you were contemplating every lap, am I going to get around this corner?
I raced the GT car there a couple of weeks ago for the first time I'd ever driven the GT car at Sandown. And in the first co-driver practice session, I ended up using my GT braking reference point as a reference to drive the supercar, not my old supercar braking. It was like 30 metres deeper. It was crazy how much more grip it had. How cool would that joint be if they resurfaced the whole place?
Be fast.
But you got to keep all the bumps.
Keep the bumps. Like, just do it like when they resurfaced Queensland Raceway. Just lay it on top over the top of the bumps.
And then after a year, it's all
that's
back.
Right. Just lay it over the top. But how cool would it be?
Yeah, look, it's a great track.
I like the challenge of every track having deg. And the car
it definitely makes better racing, the deg. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
We're big believers on this show
of the deg.
Big believers. I mean, it does. Everywhere you have that, it creates racing, because then you've got cars that are good or people looking after their tyres. And that was probably one thing that saved the race there. There was actually some passing going on. You would have been watching on.
Well, heaps of cars were getting past.
There was actually passing where I think going into the event, we were all probably a little bit worried it was going to be a boring processional race.
Yeah, particularly after the Gold Coast, where it obviously just looked so hard to pass there.
Yeah.
You know, it's always hard to pass there, but it looked particularly hard, and Bathurst as well. You know, everyone was talking about how hard it was at Bathurst. So to see some passing was good. Yeah.
I think also, I mean, what was it like for you boys? Well, you probably didn't get in race conditions, but following across the top, across Dandy Road, turn 6, that for me was worse than across the top of the mountain at Bathurst.
It's pretty bad.
It was terrible. You just couldn't stay close enough at all. So no one was really, unless someone made a mistake in front of you at Dandy Road and you could get down the inside of turn 9 cleanly, there was no passing going on down there. It was all off turn 9 to turn 11, turn 1, or turn 2 if you were sneaky enough to get up the inside. So it sort of shows you that the fast part of the track, there was no passing going on, but all the slow stuff, where there was high grip and all the rest of it, you could get passing.
Well, all the passing was done out of the last turn for turn 1, wasn't it? It wasn't really pulling
diving.
So,
what actually broke on your car?
Yeah,
shock bolt.
Shock bolt.
The bolt.
So a lot of people say, did it come loose? Didn't come loose. A bolt's not coming loose after 151 laps.
Yeah.
So, we think it's a bolt failure.
I couldn't believe it, because he was doing it easy.
Mate, we were literally,
really easy.
we just said, mate, there's a gap. You've got a gap up to the next bunch of lap cars. You've got a huge gap behind Jamie. No pressure. Just
I was listening in on the cans, and they said, 17's the next car. And I heard him go,
"Can I pass
I want to get him."
It was. That is not our objective for this race. But then he comes back, but I'd very much like to do it.
Yeah, that was very good. I like that.
So, I mean, never got the chance.
That's so disappointing, man. Seriously disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, get that close. But
if you won that race, would you have won the endurance cup?
No, 1 point.
Oh, really?
1 point.
Really?
Yeah. So Shane's DNF effectively on Saturday night. Cost us those points. Yeah.
I mean, he still came second though.
Yeah, I only read that this morning. I was like, I don't even know where we finished the race. So I didn't, and then I read something this morning. We still finished second. Okay, cool.
So, but being the last Sandown 500 too, I mean, you've won it before, but for Shane, I think that would have been. He did genuinely seem pretty disappointed.
Yeah, well, he hasn't won it.
Yeah, exactly.
Shippy, our engineer, he hadn't won it.
Yeah,
he literally told me 3 or 4 laps before the failure, he goes, "Man, I haven't won this race."
Yeah.
And he was,
he was
just, just gutted. Like the whole 97 side of the garage, like seriously emotional. Like it meant a lot to the boys, and
you could see everyone in the garage.
And it's sort of it's a bit of a shit sandwich, because then the other side of the garage is won. And fair play, but like they're all up and as they should be, and our side's like, oh man,
just crushed.
It's the same as the awkward split screen when 2 drivers from one team are going for pole in a shootout, and one guy's on provisional pole, and then the other guy gets it.
Is that like when
you sort of see Roland in the middle?
Is that like when Fab was on provisional pole and they're a bit nervous? He might end up on pole.
What are we going to do? Well, we all know what they do.
We're talking about that all the time.
Now, getting into that, let's get into what's been happening, AVL. I mean, what's the news around the traps?
It was a pretty newsy weekend, I'll tell you that. There was plenty going on. We've had a bit of driver movement stuff to start off. Scotty Pye off to Team 18. Mm-hmm. So him and Frosty together. That was largely expected.
Yeah,
that's where it go. Simona's leaving the championship, at least in a full-time capacity.
That's disappointing, isn't it? I mean, she's been out here for 3 years.
Yeah.
I actually would have liked to seen her have a crack at another team.
Yeah,
to be
in
honest.
another car would have been interesting to see how she went.
Well, the Triple Eight deal almost happened. It sort of fell over at the last minute for this year. So yeah, look, it's disappointing. I think she's going to end up with a Porsche GT drive of some kind. That seems to be sort of. She's got a Formula E development drive locked in, but
That's
I
not
think
a bad backup gig, is it?
Works out all right, doesn't it? Really, but yeah, look, it's a shame. I think in other circumstances, obviously that the Nissans just haven't been going great for the last couple of years. They've actually come
last couple of races
at the moment.
they've
To be
been
honest, yeah.
So
it's all the work Caruth did over the years.
Yeah, that's fine. Paying off.
Since he left.
Since he's left, they've got a lot better.
They're definitely faster in a straight line since I left. I'll tell you that.
They got nothing wrong in a straight line.
Do they? They were bloody brilliant up
very
the back
good.
straight. But no, it is disappointing to see her go.
Yeah.
I mean, it doesn't look like we'll have a female on the grid next year. Which I think it's been a great thing for the sport, to be honest. There's definitely been a lot of chat, and we want people talking about our sport more and having that
I think
the female interest. I mean, Garth, you would know. Obviously, Leanne's been a...
100%. Oh, mate, my
someone.
daughter, she knows 100% who Simona is and knows her car, and she's 8 years old. So, creating a fan base from a very early age is important for, I mean, it's for everyone. So, I think it's a shame to not have... a real strong female driver in the category, which she certainly has the credentials, Simona, to do it. Never really happened here in Australia, but certainly had all the credentials before she started.
Leanne?
Do you reckon she'll be back in Duros, Simona?
I don't know. She
Did you ask?
I haven't asked yet, but she could be. She'd be a decent pickup for an enduro drive for sure. Just with that, regardless of where she's been sort of sitting in the field, that relevant experience pays off massively. There you go.
Could be a contender.
There you go.
Speak of credentials.
She's everyone wants it now. There's even people dropping out of the series just to get this.
People dropping out
full time to go.
Yeah, that's true.
We've created a monster, haven't we?
Yep. Unfortunately, Mike Raymond passed away.
That was sad news.
sad.
I think you heard Neil Crompton was really emotional about that when the news sort of broke on Friday. On Thursday, it sort of started to come through. Very sad news. Obviously, for all of us, that would have been the first voice that we heard when we started watching motorsport as kids. So and it wasn't just what he did behind the microphone. He was a big influential player. In Australian motorsport.
Big mover and shaker. Real big mover. I think a lot of young'uns, like you probably wouldn't appreciate how much he did, like in the mid-90s, to create what we have, the foundation of what we have today. He was a massive mover and shaker and all that sort of stuff. In the initial Tiga, before Avesco was started, and with his connections at Channel 7 and all the rest of it, he was right in the middle of creating all those technical regs to what was original V8 Supercar.
He was a promoter at heart. That's really what he was.
Oh, yeah,
commentator.
okay.
He was a promoter. He was a speedway promoter. So his passion was, his skill set was building something, creating excitement. So he was a big player behind the V8 era. And then
that whole giving everyone a bit of a name and like the enforcer and this and
endorser.
that. He was.
What was your name?
Mike wasn't involved when I started. He wasn't involved. He was out.
I think 94 or 95 was kind of the end of his active career.
I think when it went left 7, I think there'll be about when it left 7 went to 10 the first time, which was I think 97. So, but he, because of the promoter thing, he really
he understood it.
He understood that now the drivers were starting to become, the cars were always the Holden versus Ford, they were always the stars, but then he sort of was the initial guy to sort of saying, hang on a minute, the drivers are starting to become the personalities like Tricky Dickie Johnson and Peter Perfect Brock and Larry Perkins and the baby-faced assassin Glennis. That was all him. That was all him. It was all him creating all that stuff. And now, today, they understand that drivers, talk about characters.
Yeah. We don't really have many
personalities
now, though.
No,
do we?
it's sanitised a little bit because there's no...
What do they call you, Dave? The clown?
The wanker?
Yeah.
Wanker Reynolds? I don't know.
But there's no promoter
on TV.
There's no one with that promoter background walking around the paddock in a white shirt, that needs to understand that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
I think we could do well to have another Mike Raymond involved in our sport.
Yep.
Who could fill that role then?
Oh, man, I think it has to come from outside.
Yeah.
It has to come from outside. Yep. Someone from the WWE. something like that. Yeah.
We need a bit of WWE,
A bit of
don't
UFC,
we?
whatever it is. What's the latest thing? You know that.
Yeah, I love UFC. It's
Yeah,
great.
that's your wheelhouse there.
Well, let's get into it, boys. Sandown 500, the biggest news that broke over the weekend. Well, the second biggest.
Called it.
Actually, the second biggest news.
Besides the Co-Driver Cup.
Exactly. Second to the Co-Driver Cup, but only just. And we spoke about this straight after Bathurst.
We did.
We called it out.
For the big day.
Actually, that was before even that.
Was it?
Yeah, the big donk for the
can't
big day.
remember.
Maybe they took that quite literally that you needed the big donk. But DJ Penske got they basically found guilty of having an illegal engine part in the car, which was used in qualifying when he was fastest virtually all day Thursday, Friday, and in the shootout.
And Saturday, yeah.
Go through it, ABL. I mean, it was funny because on Sunday, everyone was just in race mode, weren't we?
Yeah.
No one's really.
But when that news broke, how'd you feel?
I was right. I felt, I called it. I said, yeah,
but
called it.
You're actually angry, aren't you? You're angry that there's another thing you have to deal with, another like blemish against Bathurst. It just sucked. It just.
It's disappointing for the sport.
It's just
Absolutely
so disappointing. It is
sport.
seriously disappointing.
It's
Well,
it's
you
not a good
guys
feeling.
ran second, and I know they didn't race with that engine, but they started on pole.
Yeah.
And then
You have to. If I look at it, if you fail to qualify the race, you fail the race.
well, I mean,
I think
that was found. The engine that they used in qualifying was found to be outside the tolerances allowed, therefore illegal. Therefore, if they found that Saturday afternoon, you would have put to the rear of the grid.
Yeah.
You're not excluded from the event, but you're put to the rear of the grid. Okay, for any technical infringement, if the car comes in a kilo underweight, you put to the rear of the grid.
Yep,
okay,
yep,
so
definitely.
So that aspect, I think, they're never going to pull an engine, strip an engine.
There's no time
Understand the
to do it.
tolerances and
exactly.
kick you out Saturday night. So I think the whole of pit lane gets that. The fact that there was an engine change happening Saturday night in that car, which they had to ask permission for.
After just breaking the lap record.
I think it started to get a bit smelly.
Yes,
All the
it
teams
did.
up and down pit lane. There was only one car that changed engines Saturday night. You have to ask permission to do it, and we were told it was because they found something in the data at the time that, we need to change the engine because we found something in the data, blah, blah, blah. And then, so that engine, all the engines are sealed. Doesn't matter if it was in your car, my car,
Absolutely,
17 car. They're all sealed, but they're not measured. So I think a lot of the punters out there think that, the engines are measured, then they're sealed and put in the car, and therefore they're all legal. No.
It's the other way around.
The engine builders build the engines to the tolerances that they think and making sure that they think they're legal. The engines are then sealed, and then if the category decides we're gonna measure
That's a great
AVL's
point.
engine,
Yep.
then we're going to take an engine out, break that seal. The seal means that the team hasn't tampered with the engine since it's been sealed, and then we'll take it away and measure it.
Yep.
And then, so that's what's happened in this instance. It was taken away and measured. It was measured a couple of times, from what I understand.
that's the word in the pit
and
lane.
didn't make tolerance. Therefore, it's illegal.
Well,
What do you do though? What do you do? If that was Saturday,
That's
if that
the
was
tricky part.
If that was Sunday night, that race is gone.
So do we do it the other way then? Do we do it the other way? You send your engine up there? I mean, arguably next year, the engines are going to go for 7,500 kilometres. So they're going to be in the car for quite a long period of time. Do you send your engines up there, they're measured, they're checked, then they're sent back to you sealed? I mean, I know it's a lot more, but it avoids any instance where you...
Just don't break the rules. It's pretty
Yeah.
simple. So,
So
no, wait.
I
If they didn't change the engine, what would have happened?
Well, they changed the engine because they knew they had to. I think at the end of the day, let's.
But if they didn't,
They changed the engine because they knew they had
So
to.
they've blatantly cheated.
No, I
then.
don't know.
Well,
It was blatant. I don't think you can say it was blatant.
But how do you
they
know
have
then?
said they have said in their release since that
What is it? Yeah.
it was within tolerance when it left the workshop, and then it was outside of tolerance after Saturday. So I don't know how they changed tolerance in the truck, but it's obviously changed tolerance. So, and then they've also said that there was no advantage from how far out of tolerance they were. So if there's no advantage from how far out of tolerance they were,
why have a tolerance?
no, there's got to be a tolerance. There's got to be a line.
Yeah.
But why be so close to that tolerance? If
Well,
there's no
that's what I
advantage
mean.
being this, and this is the valve lift in the engine.
Yeah.
If there's no advantage in being that
Close
far
to it.
over the tolerance, like they're saying a very small amount, then why be so close to that tolerance line? If there's no disadvantage by having yourself a safe margin under the tolerance line.
Well, these are good questions. Let's ring somebody that builds engines.
All right, let's ring.
And get an actual answer on, what they've been done for and what it does effectively.
Who you ringing?
I'm calling was 308. He's the current.
Was 308. Is that his number plate?
He's the world burnout champion.
That's his number plate. He's a world burnout champion.
World burnout champion.
Is it dead set
dead
was
set.
308?
Yeah. Was 308. Was 308. What's up?
Oh,
It's
David Reynolds. How you going?
I'm right. You're on Below the Bonnet, pal. You're live. What's going on?
Oh, just doing stuff. That's about it.
Doing stuff.
Building engines.
Building engines to tolerances, I hope.
Oh, well within. Conservatively too.
You're a legend. I think Caruso's got a couple of questions he wants to fire at you.
Oh,
So you actually work for Walkinshaw Performance, and you build.
Walkinshaw Racing. Yep.
And you build
engines?
6 engines, don't you? For
yeah. Yep.
for cars with 6 engines.
So you've been doing it for a while, obviously. This isn't your first rodeo on the weekend?
Yeah. No, definitely not my first rodeo, that's for sure.
Mate, we obviously
2008 was my first year in the supercars.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Long time ago.
That's when I started supercars.
I reckon I did your engines back at GRM back in the day.
Oh, they were good. They were very good.
Caruso would have
Good old days.
Oh, yeah,
Yes,
once you got the Walkinshaw engines, they were good.
yeah, that's
I think Gypsy would have kept an eye on you for those overroofs.
There was obviously on the weekend. There was a car that got pinned for legal engine at Bathurst, and we just wanted to ask you: Can you explain to us from an engine builder's perspective, what it did and what effectively it can do to, why the rule is there effectively?
Basically the category some years ago put in a control camshaft and a particular lobe. So the maximum lift you can effectively run is 710 thou. And depending on the rock ratio and stuff like that, that's what allows you to get the peak lift. But I know at Walkinshaw we're a little bit conservative and well under that figure. Obviously these guys are they've taken the chance and they build their engines very close to the limit. It's basically in effect by moving it close to the limit, you're opening the valve further, so you're allowing more cylinder filling. So every time you can get more charge into the cylinder, you're going to try and make more power in effect.
By charge, you mean more air, more fuel?
Yeah, basically. If you can fill that cylinder with more air, the chances are you're going to make more power.
And how likely are they to change tolerance once you've built them?
What's that again, sorry?
Or like when you build an engine and you obviously build it to, the spec you want to build it to and have it within that tolerance, how likely do they move?
Oh,
have you ever seen one move, like from your experience?
No, basically all the checks are done at zero lash, so I wouldn't expect them to move at all, to be honest.
So was
unless something's worn out.
Hey, it's Garth, mate. Hey,
go on.
So from a fresh built engine, brand new, go and do 2,000 Ks, bring it back. Do you see no noticeable measurement change on that tolerance?
Providing there's no wear in the valve train, I wouldn't expect any movement.
Yeah. Okay.
So wear in the valve train, you mean over revs?
Oh, yeah, basically whether it's been a component failure, like a lobe started to fail, or just anything else in the valve train that can cause anything like that.
Okay.
But you expect it to decrease, I would have thought, with valve train wear. But
okay.
Stranger things have happened, so I'm not going to say that's 100% the issue. Or
No,
it's a
but
good series
going to try and answer the question pretty politically and not stand on my feet.
It's AVL here. The team when they changed that engine on the Saturday at Bathurst, they talked about having seen something in the data that they didn't like, and that's why they swapped that engine out. Do you have any understanding of what they may have seen that would have suggested that something wasn't right with that unit?
Yeah, to be honest, no idea. There's dozens of things in an engine that you may see in the data that may cause concerns, or you may want to change the engine. So without seeing the data, it's probably pretty hard to answer. And we all see different things, and it's obviously you get nervous before a big race, and that's why we carry spares. You put them in case you need them. You don't want to have that risk in front of you. That's why we carry spares. But without looking at the data and seeing exactly what was presented with them, it's probably not fair for me to comment, really.
Would you be able to see the lift? I don't know. I mean, in the data, would you be able to see that type of problem, or?
Oh, no, I don't think so, no.
Okay.
Basically, in the data, depending if you overheated the thing, you might be like, oh, I better change that thing, or things ran low on oil pressure, you'd be like, I'll definitely change it, but no, definitely nothing with the camshaft, that's for sure.
Oh, well, thanks for your time today, Woz. It's good to get an understanding, not just for us, but obviously everyone listening in and watching in. It's, appreciate your time. And
yeah, thanks, Woz. You're a superstar.
Yep.
Get back to building the engine for the HQ, Was.
The HQ.
You world burnout champion.
You need to come and drive it one day.
No one's as good at burnouts as you are, mate.
1,000 horsepower.
No one's as good at burnouts as you are, mate.
GT only drives if he pays.
All right.
Thanks, mate.
See you, Woz.
See you, Was.
All right. Catch you later, guys. See ya.
What a legend.
What a legend.
He's a great guy.
But it's good insight because I'm not an engine expert. Probably Garth, you're probably the most mechanically minded out of all of us sitting here, so you probably have a better understanding.
Hang on a second. I worked at GRM for a couple of years too, mate.
Well, you ran your
sweeping the floor doesn't count, mate.
You ran your own Formula 3 car as well. Remember you? You're basically an engineer.
Oh, you're old man.
Yeah.
In all, that's pretty like clear cut.
Well, it's interesting that he said that from his experience, you're not going to be able to see. Yeah, it's going to get less if it's wearing rather than go the opposite way.
And also the tolerance thing, like he's saying, they leave a reasonable margin on the underside.
I should really ring him back and say don't.
Hey, mate, I mean, having driven the Walkinshaw engine, you use it now. They've got good power. There's no problem.
Yeah, I was going to say, you're always saying that that's an area where you guys are pretty well equipped.
We've always got good power, good economy.
Yeah, good economy they're known for as well.
Yeah.
Yep.
So how do you deal? So I think Garth touched on it before. It's a really tricky situation to say how do you deal with this because.
But I don't think getting a penalty at Sandown was going to cut it.
No, that was unfair. That was unfair to put him at the
completely unfair.
That did not make sense
at all.
One way whatsoever.
I think you're all right. That's for Scott and Alex and everyone on car 17. That's not the right penalty. Two race meetings go by and you're starting the race last. And the weird thing was, obviously they knew about it. Everyone knew about it before the Sunday. Why it took to the Sunday to come out is another interesting thing because it could have just been dealt with before, and then they knew where they stood. I don't know. I don't understand why at that event they had to start last because I don't think that's fair on him or anyone in the team.
Or the work they'd done that weekend.
Yeah, that's right.
That weekend.
Yeah,
exactly. They should be treated individually.
But it's a tricky. It's a tricky one. So I genuinely feel sorry for Scott through all of this, and I know you guys will slam me for that. But I like at the end of the day, he's not on the strategy wall telling anybody to go fast or slow behind the safety car. He's not in the engine room going, well, we'll push the limit here, or maybe we can do this, or he's nothing to. All he's doing is driving the car.
Just driving the car as hard as he can.
Driving the car really well.
But the other side of the argument is it's a team sport. At the end of the day,
I understand that.
But when you're driving a race car, if the team have broken the rule, it's
you get penalised.
You get penalised as well.
I get that. What I'm saying is that it's a team sport, but Scott's the one that yesterday had to stand there with me and 5 other journos around him, asking him how it feels to win the championship on a day where you got penalised for having an illegal engine. That's a tough thing to swallow, right? And he has to deal with that.
Yeah.
And I genuinely feel sorry for him for having to deal with that because he's a Bathurst winner and a champion. That's how it's gone down, and he's got all this other stuff swirling around that he has to deal with at exactly the same time. What an unfortunate way to seal the championship on that same day,
Yeah, well, you can see there was no celebrations around.
No, that's right. So but also when you're talking about technical things, for me, you have to have a line, and it doesn't matter if you're a quarter of an inch over it or if you're a metre over it.
You're over
with technical stuff, you've just got to have a line.
That's why there has to be a line. Doesn't matter what the numbers are. That's the line.
Yeah.
So it's like saying, well, the cars weigh 1,250 kilos.
Yeah.
You come in at 1,249.
Yeah.
You're done.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Oh, but it's only 1 kilo.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Too bad.
Yeah. And performance advantage or not, to me, is entirely irrelevant.
That's irrelevant.
It really doesn't matter. The engine was illegal, right? But what's
the penalty?
That's the
penalty?
question
What is the penalty?
because you can't. I don't know that if you took a straw poll up and down pit lane, most people in most garages would say you have to take the win away. But it's so hard because
I don't think you can.
Yeah, that's right.
I
think
agree. I think if that's the Sunday engine, it's easy.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
Easy. So
precisely.
You're no longer the Bathurst 1000 champions. That's easy.
But because of all this grey area.
But because it's Saturday, it makes it hard.
Mm-hmm.
So do you give him a penalty?
I mean, I think on the back of
at Bathurst, do you just add.
They can't, mate. They didn't use that engine in the race.
Yeah, no, but you shouldn't have started from pole.
Shouldn't have started from
Yeah,
pole.
I started 22nd. It took me 100 laps
but
to get to 17th.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can't say, oh, if he started 25th, you can't say, well, he wouldn't have won the race because you don't know.
You don't know exactly.
Yeah, but the hard thing is, GT, and this is where
just
everyone's
throws more
pushing the
mud
boundaries. Everyone, that whole event now is just constantly.
Mate, the asterisk has got bigger.
The
it's a
asterisk,
double asterisk.
It's amazing. Like that whole event, and it's our biggest, it's our marquee event. Even Ryan Walkinshaw came out and said, it's unfair on the fans, and
Which is
100%
exactly
it
right.
is. It's unfair on everyone involved, everyone that loves the sport, everyone that built that sport back in the day, like Mike Raymond, all those people that built this. This is it. That's the joint. So effectively, where it's disappointing is it's hard to apply a rule, but I think, you know what it's like. How tough is it you guys had to do on the weekend? If you had to start it on pole, where do you think you guys would have been by the end of the race on Sunday?
Oh, you don't know.
Do you know what I mean?
Your race is different, though.
It's a different race. Otherwise, you wouldn't qualify.
Strategy.
Yeah.
I don't know what we do.
So I think getting back to what the penalty should be, it's a team sport. It's got to be team points. It's got to be team points.
Yeah.
And everyone say, "Oh, you're saying that because you're a Red Bull and you're second in the teams." But it's a team thing.
Yeah.
The teams involved with the engine and all the rest of it. It's got to be team points.
It's got to be both. It has to be.
Yeah.
If my team
I don't understand how you can
broke the rules, I would.
Yeah. I
I'd
think
cop the penalty.
I don't know how you can apply a sporting penalty to the car so far after the event.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
If
it was on the day, mate, it's easy. It's clear cut.
Yeah, but these things, you just can't do it on the day.
No. And that's the problem with the engine things.
Yeah, you can't check it on the Saturday night.
That's the problem with the whole one car change an engine on Saturday night. And we can all sit here and speculate.
But everyone would
going into Saturday.
But wouldn't you cop starting Bathurst on pole if you knew it was going to be 30 grand and you got to start the next race?
The money is
irrelevant.
irrelevant.
It's the same as the 150 grand fine for
Roger
the race.
Penske bought the IndyCar Series and the Indianapolis Motor Speedway like a week after getting that fine. The money is not.
Yeah, and
but you don't. I mean,
but what I'm saying is this isn't a crack at them for the money thing. What I'm saying is, the 30 grand then, why wouldn't you take it, the punt, and just go, right, we're going to run it on the edge and make sure we qualify in the shootout and get on pole.
Good idea.
And be like, yep, okay, we're going to yank that engine. What are they going to say? All I'm saying is we're creating scenarios where people will take it to the edge. They will do it.
If they've got the money and the resource, they can.
Why not? That's all I'm saying. People will do it. And everyone thinks,
so do you thinking the deterrents aren't strong enough at the moment?
I think we've got to be very heavy. I mean, you see it in other sports, even NASCAR. Don't they wipe people?
Yep.
Like, you can't come back and race next weekend, or your crew chief can't
crew
be.
chiefs.
We need to have heavier penalties.
Melbourne Storm got rubbed out for the next 2 years. Didn't they? They got wooden spoon for the next 2 years.
Well, they didn't win those premierships.
No, they took their premierships away. So...
that's all I'm saying. If people are going to break the rules, then I think we've got to have penalties applied. So like I said, you're not on the fine.
Suitable deterrents and financial deterrents aren't strong enough. Doesn't matter if it's Roger Penske, Betty, Roland Dane, Gary Rogers. It doesn't matter because the teams have. I mean, teams have got some money.
Yeah.
And the teams at the front was to say, well, we'll happily take a financial fine over a sporting fine.
Yep.
So there's got to be sporting fines. It's got to be points. It's got to be, back of the grid, wipe your points for the year. It's got to be serious reputation. Yeah. Like, I mean...
Because they've brought this... effectively, it brings the sport into disrepute.
Oh, well, here we are Monday morning after Sandown 500 talking about something that happened 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, on the Saturday.
On the Saturday.
So I still think a year at the back of pit lane would have...
Yeah, I agree.
That would have hurt. That would have sent a really strong message as well. And that's oversimplifying the application of penalties because there's sporting codes and there's certain regulations in which it's not as simple as just going, well, too bad, we're going to take all your points away. But if you wanted to just sit down and go, what would be a real deterrent? If you want to talk about deterrents, that would be a deterrent.
100%.
Because that sends a very strong message.
Because that penalty is not just for here and now.
No,
that's for
next
14 race weekends next year.
Yeah, and that's
that
my
reminds you every time you walk into the track, I've got to go to that end of pit lane.
And that's what I'm saying. It's not just
why we did.
Because of this reason. That's exactly what it is. But it's a constant.
That's all I'm saying. It's not just about them and what the penalty they should get. It's so anyone else doesn't think about, okay, we're going to push it here.
Because at the moment, looking at the
No
surface.
no
you just
penalties
keep
been
pushing
harsh
the
enough.
limits.
Yeah. So maybe that's what it. So we talk about qualifying engines in the old days of being hand grenade engines, but maybe it becomes that your qualifying engine is just one that's pushing every tolerance to the very end, and you roll the dice.
But you get
I'm not saying that's going to happen, but that's sort of
the
what
engine
I'm
rule,
suggesting it might
engine
happen.
rules
Maybe that's-
change next year
Do they?
anyway. So
Yeah.
it's got to be. I mean, there was talk about teams wanting. Basically, I think it works next year is that engines get allocated to the car.
Yeah.
So you got 3 engines, and those engines are allocated to the car. So those
Like F1.
the Ks have to be those Ks have to be done in that car. So you can't have an engine do 6,500 kilometres in one car and go, oh, this is getting close.
We'll give
We
it to
might
the number
move
2
that
driver.
to another car for the last 500
I wonder
Ks.
who'll end up with those engines.
Because there was a genuine push from teams to allow, the
Yeah.
team can have a bank of engines.
Wow, that's
Yeah, that's not cool. That's not
So
cool.
the engine rules are significantly different, and we won't go into that now, but the engine rules next year are significantly different. So I don't think you'll see teams going as close to the limits or the thresholds because the engines are going to have to go effectively double the distance
And
they
the
are
thing
now.
I will say, it's great that supercars have done something about it because we have heard of in the past that some things maybe, everyone gets a bit of a slap on the wrist and people move on. But we need, if the more strength they show, the better
The better
I
our
think
series
for
becomes.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more the people want to play in
well
it.
done to them because it would have been a hard decision, no doubt, as well. As much as easier
But
to say, well, they
people
were
also
cheap.
have to know that listening to this, these are just our opinions. They're not gospel. We're just talking rubbish about. It's not rubbish. We're just coming up with ideas and possibilities, and
Well,
it's not going
we're
to
as
happen.
much part of the
We're not
sport as
we're not
everyone else, aren't we?
influencing. We're just talking it. So
well,
you can't just hammer
people
us going.
choose to listen.
Reynolds said that. Or Tander said they should strip his win. It's nothing about that.
No. I don't think they need. Yeah, exactly. I think you've got to be balanced with it all. And 50% of your listeners are going to be from the blue side, and they're going to say we're all talking junk.
Yeah.
50% of your listeners are from the red side. They're all going to say,
I
well,
agree.
they needed to go harder, rah rah rah.
So there's no one on the Nissan side.
How would you feel?
Sorry.
How would you feel if you
They're
were
in the cracks.
Back in 6 years.
How would you feel if you were in car 17's position after all that stuff's happened?
Oh
at
man, it'd be
Bathurst?
hard. Absolutely, it'd be hard.
Would you want to give the trophy back and say, hey, maybe we should come back again next year?
No race
not.
car
No
driver's
way.
You
going
still
to
would?
enter.
No,
You'd still
I
be
don't
like,
think
you'd
you
still
would.
be like,
Well,
no,
'cause
we
the
won.
engine-
I swear.
I think.
Come on, give the
No, I don't think it's. I don't think.
putting scenarios
I don't
out there.
think Scott should. I don't think Scott should. Because the engine that they used on Sunday is fine.
Yeah.
That's,
Did
so
they
there's
check
no
that
arguing
actually?
that.
Yeah, they
both
did that.
Both engines got checked. Yeah, 100%.
Okay, well, that's good.
But they've done. I mean, he's lost his lap record.
That's actually, that is something.
He's lost
Yep.
his now, and
Lost
he's
Chaz's
lost.
pole.
He's no longer a Bathurst pole
Yeah.
winner for 2019.
Yeah.
That's
So
Chaz's first
he's
pole in a
lost
top
that.
10 shootout.
Yeah, but he doesn't actually get.
doesn't get
anything
to-
for it.
So-
And you know what it's like that. We've spoken about it many times. Like Bathurst shootout is the shootout.
That's
I mean,
it.
he's
Yeah.
missed out, and the team. I mean,
All
All
of
the
it.
news
Super
stories, all the
cheap.
paper.
You know, all that. That's a big deal. So I reckon this is one of the trickiest applications of penalty. And I don't think the penalty on Sunday at Sandown, I thought that
No,
was
that was
really
rubbish.
average.
I don't get that.
But
Yeah.
what else do they do? And I think the general consensus is teams points.
yeah. Yep.
It's
But
been a
that's-
really
haven't we
tricky
talked
year,
about this
hasn't it?
enough?
It's been a tricky
I think so.
year.
I think so. I still think that there is a penalty in how Scott would be feeling. And imagine when he got sat down on Sunday morning and told what happened. That would have
He
sucked.
would have known about it for a while.
No, they would have known for a while. That was bubbling for a while. So they'd know. So,
The
It still would have. It would have hurt to know that, particularly with everything that had already happened. That would have really sucked.
Now, speaking of the team's championship, GT, it's bloody close. 116 points between first and second. Do you reckon your team can bridge it at Newcastle? Because their cars at the moment,
You
let's
guys
be
are
honest,
flying, yeah, absolutely.
You guys
you guys are
super
looking.
fast.
yeah, the
very-
cars
like
are good. Cars are good.
Let's just say too quick.
Hey, steady on. Steady on. How
Nah,
much
they're
did that
quick.
Mustang win at the start of the year?
Yeah, it's flipped, hasn't it?
I'm pretty sure one car at the start of the year won a lot of races. It was clearly just the co-drivers over this last 3 events,
Yeah,
by the way.
well, you've added some points there.
So, look,
For once in that team, they've done a very good job at getting
For once, jeez, they
Yeah,
dominated
yeah.
the
No,
last
just
decade.
when you look at yourself, Lowndes and Whincup, you are the 3 most winning drivers out of the sport's history. Like, they were going to be at one of the hardest
it was always
combinations or the hardest teams to beat in that 3 races.
Yeah.
Like, it's...
I think, on that, before we get to Newcastle, I think what having Craig and myself in the team enables Jamie and Shane to know that they can just fully concentrate on making the car as fast as it can go, knowing that they don't have to allocate X amount of time on laps in the sessions for the co-drivers to get up to speed.
Yes.
Because they're confident, even if we only do 3 laps before. I mean, on Thursday at Bathurst, I was after practice 1, I was like, I'm comfortable. I can pretty much just go and do the race now.
Yeah.
So then, they know they're comfortable that we can just spend as much time as we want getting the cars right. So they know that when Craig and I jump back in the car, we're just going to be we're going to be close to what they are capable of doing.
Well, let's get into that, because I did want to ask you. I mean, we've both gone from being main series. You obviously did it for a very long time successfully, to now co-driver role. It is a different role, isn't it?
Yep.
I mean, you don't turn up with this exact same mindset. And we've been asked constantly, I mean, particularly the media say, do you feel like there's so much pressure? The co-drivers have, the standards higher.
What do you do different?
But, I mean, my opinion, you heard this at Gold Coast, because we got asked it in the press conference on Friday. It is very light duties, in my opinion, and then that's coming from where we've been and so competitive, and you've been doing it at the top level every week in, week out, and you come back, you're with a driver that is going to qualify well and do all those things, worry about making the cars fast. You can just sit back. I mean, is that how you feel?
Yeah. You focus. You can just focus on your own performance and not have to worry so much about the car performance. You're just focusing on your own, how you're driving the car and things like that. And so, yes, I think it's weirdly much lower stress.
Yeah.
But what I struggled with in particularly the first stint at Bathurst and the Saturday race at the Gold Coast was just how hard to push. Like, how hard do I push?
Yeah.
How much risk do I take in this first...
It's not my car.
It's not my car. It's not my championship.
Because it's not our role, is it?
That's exactly. It's not our role. Our role is to, if there's an opportunity to make a place, take the place, but don't take any risk. So I really struggled with how much risk do I take in this early phase of the race, and then
that'd be hard for you because your whole life has been about.
It's all about just maximising everything, everything. So I really struggled with that, and I actually changed before Sandown. Like after the Gold Coast, I was pretty flat with my own performance. I mean, it's weird we were first on Sunday and second on Saturday, but I was really thought that I didn't deliver the way I should have. So I completely changed my mindset for Sandown. It was like, this is just back to maximum attack and just drive it like it's my own car.
Yeah.
Yep. But I think we can measure those when you got to push and when you don't. I mean, that's the thing I explained to Cam. I mean, we spoke about it. It's when the car's, when the car's not exactly there, we can measure those. Okay, this is not the time to push.
Yeah, that's right.
and stick it, up against the fence and bend this or have a crack here. Like you can actually just go, righto, it's 90% right now. When the car's good again, or when we tune it up, then you can go back. Where I think that's where the struggle is. So instead of being 10/10ths all the time.
Oh yeah, you're always driving with margin.
Yeah,
always driving with margin.
Exactly.
It's under the tolerance, mate. Under the tolerance.
So I think one of the things we've seen over this,
under the tolerance, you idiot.
the big advantage to having guys like you in your team, and we saw you do a double stint on the Gold Coast. We saw you go like 20 laps over the minimum. It's just the flexibility that you guys are giving teams.
So much more.
Yeah, because you went much longer than you needed to.
Yeah. I didn't get paid any extra for that either.
No.
You don't get paid to adjust the input.
But also, like when you're coming up against like less experienced people, you've got an edge on them. And also,
not really. I think
you do. You really do.
No, you got experience on them. But I mean, you remember you racing against guys like Will Brown, Bryce Forward, all these young kids that.
Yeah, but they'll be shitting themselves going.
Yeah,
I've got
but they got to back
shit in a Triple A car.
They've got to back themselves, mate. That can't go on forever. So they've got to back themselves and go. At some point, we've got to be better than these guys.
And let's be honest, the co-drivers. A lot of them are auditioning to try to get a main seat. It's half.
There's a lot of auditioning. The Walkinshaw Cup between Bryce and
that's what it's about. But you know what I mean? And that there's kids out there trying to prove themselves, and we saw a lot of that over the last 3 events. So you've got one end of the spectrum where people have proved themselves, and everyone knows, okay, well that's where they are, and they're good enough, and what have you, seen all that. And these kids are trying to get a main seat, for next year or in the future. So it's a good mix.
Interesting dynamic. Yeah,
it is. Well, like we were having a chuckle on in the co-driver race when Will Brown and Bryce Forward were racing each other. It's basically the Walkinshaw Cup It's a couple of guys. Guys are very much in the frame for the second seat at Walkinshaws, and they were racing each other. You know, so that's and Thomas Randall, he's still in the mix to land somewhere. So there are guys that were out there that did definitely have a bit to prove on the weekend. I've got another question for you guys. So what would you take? You've got plum co-driver roles. How does that stack up against if you were, you know, driving maybe in a not so competitive package on a full-time basis? Would you still rather be full-time?
Well, he's probably the perfect person to ask.
I think he's the perfect person to ask because
you both
drove for 2 different teams this year.
I did. I mean, they're 2 different mindsets. You're going to an event, okay, we can win here.
Yeah.
To, okay, let's work on the package and, you know, let's try to get in the 10 and make opportunities. It's difficult because a lot of the teams that know they're not going there to win would like to win. It's not that they're not trying to.
Sure.
But you've got to be realistic. You know, you know where you stand in the scheme of things and which team you're at and what your opportunities are. I mean, it's a hard one because I'd like to be racing nearly every weekend.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean,
for me, it's simple. That's been interesting. The phone's rung a couple of times over the last 3 or 4 weeks, and
for a full-time seat.
Yeah, and a lot of people have asked since what happened with me in January, and then you're going to try and get back in full-time in 2020. And I said then, I'd only do it if I was in a car that I knew was really capable of results, because. I mean, it's 21 years. I've got myself into a position now with 888 that I've got a car that I know when we go to the track, every time we go to the track, we're a chance to win the race.
Yeah.
And it's been a long time for me since I've been in that situation. So why would I put myself back in the situation where you're going to do exactly what you're describing, talking about developing a team, developing a car, building a culture within the organisation, going through all that process again? I mean, it's time for someone else to do that. It
drains you.
Yeah, it does. It drains you.
Draining.
It absolutely drains you. And you've done a really good job at that at Erebus, building a team that's come from nowhere to now a genuine contender.
It's a team effort, though.
Yeah,
it
is a team effort.
It's not down to one person, it's down to everyone.
But a lot of the time, the driver ends up being the centre point of all that stuff.
Yeah,
and the energy that the driver brings to the garage, if it's a positive energy, then you can flourish. If it's a negative energy, it's really, really hard to develop a culture.
Which if I look at myself this year, I probably could do a better job at that. Like with all the other stuff that's going on, with all the stuff with the Mustang, all the Bathurst stuff, this and that and the other, I've actually probably lost sight of my own goals.
Doing your job.
Trying to like rally my troops around me in a nice positive frame of mind.
But it's hard when
it's like I've forgot to...
But I will
focus on yourself.
I will say that.
I'm trying to fight and talk about all these other battles everyone's ringing me about. I'm like, and
that brings it back to AVL, I think. When you're in a team and you know, everyone's going there to try to win. But when there's things happening within the sport and you think, I'm doing the best job I can, we're doing the best job we can.
Yeah.
And then you're finding out, how are we going to beat that team if they're doing this? Or how are we going to beat that team? You know what I mean? Like you're so
pigeonholed
focused in your own little world that, that's what you're thinking about. Okay, how are we going to win next event? And if you think that someone has an advantage that you can't beat, it
actually
gets in your head. Of course it does. And it gets to everyone, not just you. It gets to the mechanics, the engineers.
But that's why, as a driver, you've got to just, mate, I've just got to go to the track. And if I think my car's good enough for 6th, I've got to make sure I'm at least 6th, if not try and steal a 5th.
But I don't know there's many drivers that do that now.
Yeah, I know.
It doesn't feel like people are measured in that
That's a real
sense.
skill that you need to... And I think it's experience that develops that, because when you're young, you think it doesn't matter what car you're driving, you think every time I go on the track, I'm going to win the race.
Yeah.
But it's in reality,
impossible.
You can't. Not everyone's going to win the race. I mean, there's 25 cars in the race. There's going to be 24 disappointed people. So you've got to be realistic about, and that's sort of at my time at GRM, we weren't a car that was capable of winning races, but we were a car. When we got that right, we were a top 5 car. When we really got it right, we could steal a podium. So that's when you knew that on a weekend where, the car's in the window this weekend, we can be top 5. Yep. You had to make sure, as a driver, you did everything you can to make sure...
You were ready, for that opportunity.
To maximise that opportunity. And then if you really did a good job, you stole a podium. Yep. So that's, I think, you develop that skill over your career. And I think... That's why I think a lot of people, young guys coming out of Super 2 into main game, go, geez, it's such a big gap from Super 2 up to the main series, is because drivers in the main series are thinking like that. So they're thinking, this is my opportunity to maximise this weekend. I'm maximising. Not saying that you don't try every weekend, but you've got to make sure you, as the cog in the wheel of the race team, are as strong as you can be when
Yep.
the opportunity arises. Whereas, and then so
Don't have
everyone's doing that in their garages up and down pit lane. And then you've got these new guys coming out of Super 2 going, holy smokes, I used to win everything in Super 2. Now I'm running 25th. Like that's you got to keep developing yourself as an athlete and as a driver.
So are you saying that
distraction.
you're full time?
Mate, unless RD's running a third car next year for that. Yeah, I don't see any desire to come back. If I was in a car that was capable of being top 3, top 5 every weekend, then yes, you'd consider it. But the reality of
Is it hard knowing that you've got the skill to win?
No, but I mean, I think the
happy to
reality
sort
of
of sit
someone
back?
hiring a 42-year-old to go back into that environment is very slim. I mean, I was whilst yesterday's race result was obviously disappointing, I was really satisfied with my performance in the first half of the race because
You set up that.
I can imagine.
well, no,
it
it's
was
just
a great
from a personal execution point of view. There was a role that I had to do, and I achieved that as to the best that I could. Probably exceeded a little bit. So just walking away, even though the race results sucked, walking away knowing, well, your performance was exactly what you needed to do in that time and place in that environment. So that's satisfying. And I put my head on my pillow last night knowing that you can still get the job done. Whereas a lot of people out there probably thought that I would sort of gone over the peak a little.
There seems to be
that's funny. That is a typical thing in motorsport, though. As soon as you're not in a car that can win,
you're no good. You've forgotten how to drive.
He's forgotten how to drive.
They haven't shown any promise. Get rid of them. Get someone else in there. It's not as easy just plugging in a spacer in there.
But you've got a good chance of continuity where you are as well, because Shane loves that team. He's already said that when his deal comes up at the end of next year, he'll try and do another one.
Yep.
You guys are almost the same height.
Yep.
Similar. You seem to have worked really, really well this year together. So, what a great spot to be in, and you can rack up some more Bathursts and. It is a brilliant place to be in this part of your career.
Yeah, I know next year when we go to the 3 endurance races again, that will be a chance to win any of those events.
Shane's going to want a Bathurst. He's going to really want a Bathurst, and
especially
he'll still feel like he's owed one.
Especially after this year. So, look, for me, it's perfect environment and perfect scenario. I mean, very similar to where Michael is. So, look, I can go. And the good thing is, like this year, I went and did a heap of different racing and really enjoyed that. And whereas
it gives you more time for your family. I mean, like touched on it
mate,
before,
I've been busier this year than I was for the last 3 or 4, because between us doing RPM, so that's every Sunday in Sydney, a heap of TCR races, GT races, a lot of 888 stuff away behind the scenes. I've been busier this year. Yeah,
they're in smaller blocks.
Well, even if you're not racing the TCR car, you usually have to babysit because Leanne's
racing it. So so it's been cool this year to do a lot of different stuff. I mean, even race Toyota 86s at the start of the year. So just
should we do that together? Should we have a race against each other
do that
next year?
What about go overseas with Le Mans? You blokes could go and do Le Mans together.
I don't know if RPM could handle us not being there.
You're right. I think ratings might go down.
I feel like I'm on RPM
actually,
now.
we can't afford to not go, because if we go and ratings go up, then we're out of the job.
Exactly. Well, let's get into the teams championship. Do you reckon they can take? I mean, 116 points, and how things have been going.
Well, that was one of the disappointing things about things about the failure yesterday. Before that failure, we were 50 points in the lead.
Oh no way!
So the swing was pretty big. There was a big opportunity there with both the shell cars sort of not really firing yesterday to maximise it with another 1-2. So that was obviously anher compounding disappointment with
that would have been
result.
3 in a row, wouldn't it?
But I mean, the fact that they're in the fight for the teams going into Newcastle still, I mean, speaks volumes of how our endurance campaign went. Obviously, the penalty for Shell V-Power teams from the Bathurst thing has brought it much closer. So I think they're a chance. I genuinely think they're a chance. It's a lot of points to get in one weekend over a very quality rival. But momentum is certainly with them at the moment, for sure. And there's a lot of motivation.
Well, that's why I bring it up.
It really means something to these teams. It's easy to just go, who cares about the teams championship?
No.
The teams care about it.
Absolutely,
Even down at Tickford, they're they're 3rd and 4th.
Yeah.
They're in a battle with our team.
Exactly. It's a crucial part. It's something you carry for the next 12 months of racing. Where you stack in pit lane order, qualifying. So many things start coming into it. So everyone takes it very, very seriously in teams land.
Teams.
Who keeps saying that?
Yeah, your mate Scapey.
I watched the trailer for the doco, for the Erebus doco.
Oh, yeah?
Over the
What do you
weekend.
reckon?
It's going to be good. It's
I
going to
haven't
be real
seen
good.
anything about
I'm looking forward
I've seen
to it.
parts of it. But
It's going to be
I
good.
forgot you were doing that.
We've got
It's
some characters in our team.
Going to be an absolute
Yeah,
ripper.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I think Barry's going to start. I've
I
got a feeling
would say so.
he will start.
I think he's going to make Gunther Steiner look like a lightweight from the Formula 1. That's what I reckon.
Baz wears his heart on his sleeve every day. And
Yeah, he does.
There'll be
you
some,
know what he's thinking at all times.
I won't give away the first line he says in the trailer, but it is just.
Can anyone see it?
I don't know. I
Or
don't
you
know. I
got
don't
it
know if I was
inside?
in a privileged position to
How
have,
did you see it?
I actually went and did it. I shouldn't say this because I'll end up getting cut from the whole thing, but went and did a little bit of filming.
Oh, yeah, okay. Yeah,
a
they
little
went
bit of
and
just
interviewed
piece
the
the
whole thing.
camera stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of people going through and
Cool.
yeah, they said have a look at this, and I went.
You're
this is gonna
becoming
be
really
fun.
famous these days,
Oh,
mate.
it's just your coattails, Cruz. That's,
No,
all,
mate.
that's all it is, mate. Just
Mate, the amount of fans that come round and be like, "Oh, I'd
Where's
love to get his
Andrew?
I'd love to get him, mate. You won't find
Yeah,
it.
He carries
I'm
a texter in his pocket now.
Yeah, that's
All three
that's what
colours.
I
Gold,
think.
gold, silver, black.
No, just gold.
Silver.
Just gold for me. No, I signed another.
The ultimate professional.
I signed another autograph on the weekend.
One.
But it was
Just
the,
one?
But
Was
it was
that
the,
my check?
But it was the same bloke. It was the same bloke who I got the selfie with, so I don't think it counts. I think I've still
No,
only got
mate,
one
that's just-
fan.
you've got a
I've
fan.
still only got
Oh,
one
the same
fan.
guy.
Yeah,
You've got a fanboy. Check his Facebook account. It's a photo of you.
yeah.
Its bio is ABL's biggest fan.
Fanboy.
Poor bloke.
B-O-I.
I'd feel very sorry
B-O-I.
for
Can
him.
you actually run through the points, how it finished up? Because I know a
Yeah.
lot of people are interested in the cup.
Yeah, so ended up being so like you and Moff, you bombed on the weekend, mate.
Yeah, Saturday,
Absolutely
Friday killed us.
Hey, mate, I genuinely, when I got out of the car after the first practice session, the first other car I looked for,
Yeah,
this one. Had to look a long way down the
it's funny.
street.
I was
Yeah,
always looking
absolutely,
for it too.
absolutely.
Where
No,
were
The
you?
feeling's mutual.
Weren't firing?
The feeling's mutual. I'm like, where'd
Weren't
Garth
firing?
finish? I wasn't on the radio, so I didn't get in radio days or anything like that. Where's Garth? But yeah, it's
So Garth, 1,203 points. 1,203 points.
Is that a lot? Is that a
255 over Lounsey's.
Yes.
Ended up being
Another
a
one,
triple
too.
eight one too.
Another one, too.
So 255 points over Lounsey, and Will Brown snuck into third.
snuck in.
That second in the co-driver race really did him
Yeah.
some.
And
some
he missed
good-
the Winton
So
practice
did the
session.
co-driver races, they counted, did they?
it was only
only that.
dedicated co-driver sessions.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah.
the
So
race.
it's got nothing to do with the race itself.
Yeah, no, the main race.
You don't want primary drivers stinking up the whole
No,
show. It
don't.
needs
Them
to be
polluting
all
the
about
important
exactly.
stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. So
That's why
it's,
we started this.
So yeah, Moff slipped down to fourth, 345 points. He's a round behind. There's only one bloke within two
Well, he was
sessions.
in touching
Two
distance
sessions.
before we
Yeah.
went into the event.
Yep.
And
So
we thought he was going to fire to the top because he
Yeah.
had heaps of
So
greens.
how many
Yeah.
points did you get for
green tyres.
a win?
150.
150 per session.
same
It was
point
a point
structure.
structure
Oh,
for,
was
for a
it?
sprint
Okay.
race
Okay.
for
Yeah.
every session.
Okay.
So I also did this on my phone calculator with a spreadsheet. So it's
Oh, so we've got to get.
Asterisks,
completely
asterisks.
wrong.
So
Yeah,
we've
it's
got to
not-
get
not
Ernst.
very
We've
good
got to
at
get
maths.
Ernst and Young to.
I've commissioned someone to do a proper spreadsheet
Audit.
next year, so I can
Oh, really?
punch
You've
it all
have you got
in.
people?
So I've got people working.
We
on
need to probably get a work experience
I've
kid, don't you reckon, on this show? Like,
I won't
Haven't
say.
you got him?
yes.
Hey, I'm here.
Oh, jeez.
I've done work
yeah,
experience
so-
once.
Oh, at Walkinshaws, wasn't it?
Oh.
No, it was
Work
a
experience
panel
kid
beater
there?
shop in Albury.
How long were you there?
Probably about 3 months.
Really?
Yeah, I
You
worked-
lasted that long?
Well, it was on my own car, so I had to.
You work experience on your own car.
Yeah,
You just fixed your own car.
Basically,
that's not,
he just
that's
told me
not
what
work
to do.
experience.
How much-
yeah.
Must have some
I was
serious
probably
damage.
16 or something at the time. Yeah, I wasn't.
How much damage did it have in it? For
No, it was
3
I
months.
bought my first car was a Mazda RX-7 Series 1. I bought for $1,000, and then
Good car.
Yeah, great car.
Man, wish you still had it now.
still
It'd be
got
worth
it.
more than $1,000
Manual?
now.
I still got
Have
it.
you still got it?
Yeah, still got it.
Good work.
Manual?
Yeah, Manuel definitely.
Series 1, so it's 10A.
Well, it's
No,
I
it'd
got
be
it
12A.
12A. It come as a 12A Bridgeport, and then I
Put
spent
a turbo on it, bro?
every
No,
cent
you
I
don't
ever
turbo
had. This is-
rotaries.
they actually did.
Yeah, I know, but you
The
don't.
12. No, they're worth a
no
lot of
good.
money. The
Put a
12
hairdryer
12A
on the
turbo.
side.
Oh, yeah, the original ones.
The original
Yes,
ones are.
yes.
And then
you want to make big power, mate. You do not turbo.
well, yeah, then I got a 13B turbo and put it in, and yeah,
That was the gun one, wasn't it? The 13B.
Yeah,
That was the
13B
real
turbo.
hot-
Yeah,
that
she
the
was
real hot rig.
point
With a hairdryer on
One.
the side. Come on.
bigger liter. Hey,
Take the headlight out. Get some more air in it.
It's actually a cool bit of kit. But yeah, that's probably why I failed school, I think. I'm blaming that one.
You failed school because of a Mazda RX-7?
Yeah, because I spent all my...
It's a fair stretch.
See that?
All my schooling years later in
Dave,
life.
having known you for a very long time, it wasn't a car fault.
School anyway, yeah.
What was your childhood hot rod, Garth? What were you cruising around the street?
First car.
Yep. Was a...
VL
it's
turbo.
actually interesting because when I joined Holden, the Holden PR man, who's no longer the Holden PR man, who
Gerald.
we all know,
Gerald. He's a
he
legend.
said, mate,
The Deborah Sky.
your first car has to be a VC Commodore.
He said that to you.
But it wasn't a VC Commodore, Gerald. Yeah,
It's a
yeah, but
BB.
for the media
Oh,
stuff,
for the media.
it has to be. So for the last 15 years, I've been saying my first car was a VC Commodore.
So
So
you've kept the lie.
I'll give you a below the bonnet exclusive.
Oh,
World
Scooty.
exclusive.
It was an XF Falcon.
There we go.
And it was a
So
piece of junk. I wanted to get a Mark II
First on race
RS
day.
2000 Escort.
Oh, wow.
So I wanted,
Yeah.
but they were too expensive because my old man was a Ford man growing up. So I wanted
How dirty
him.
is he with you?
I wanted him. No, well, he's got a Commodore now. I wanted a Mark II.
He got a good deal. He got a good deal.
Yeah, I did get him a deal. I wanted a Mark II RS 2000 Escort.
They are, they're a
But
good piece of machinery.
But back in the day, don't forget, this is a long time ago. They were still too expensive. So he got me this XF Falcon that I had to pay half
rear-wheel,
for.
really interesting connection here. Rear-wheel drive.
Yeah,
You had a front wheel, didn't you?
you did.
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, what did you have?
You had like a Mazda 1.2. No, that was your GRM.
No, that was my GRM car. I had a laser.
Was it a
Ah, that's right.
I had a
Mark
laser.
one?
Ford laser.
What's that?
Four-door.
Escort.
No, Mark II I wanted. Mark II. But I didn't get it.
I had a laser as well, but I also had a Mark II Escort, but it wasn't an RS 2000.
Mate,
But
I would have been happy
man-
with a 1.8 with the RS 2000 stickers on it.
Yes.
Nah,
They
my,
go- they
my
go
old
for
man
about
built a
30
real
grand now.
nice 1600 for it that would not have passed any Formula Ford tolerances, I can tell you. Went straight in the Escort, so we built it out of a Formula
wow.
Ford engine, and she was a
Your old man
beauty.
didn't pop that back in the Formula Ford every now and then, did he?
Nah, I don't think so, mate. Don't think
Actually,
so.
two Western Australians here. Did you guys ever race each other?
No,
I was well gone
Garth
before
was
that.
long gone. I did
Yeah.
a bit of racing, but that was us. But obviously, like
Yeah,
our
we've
old
heard about
mans
your
would have
career.
known, like Dirk,
Oh,
Dirk
yeah.
and JBL. They would have knocked around.
You tested.
Wanneroo.
What else did you do? You tested some. Didn't you test the car recently, the 5000?
I tested the S5000.
Well, he drove it.
I drove
wouldn't say
it,
he
yeah.
tested it.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, that is actually completely wrong. Yeah.
Just looking on car
What are you
sales.com.
doing? Yeah, how
Is
much?
How much?
Oh, mate.
Oh, they're
27 grand now.
They're ridiculous.
27
They're ridiculous.
grand.
Yeah, they are crazy money
An
now.
RS 2000
See,
Mark
my
one
old man,
manual.
we should have bought it. Good investment.
If you'd had a,
investment, yeah.
Would have
Yeah.
taken us 20 years to make 20 grand.
if you had a twin cam, if you had a Lotus twin cam Mark
Oh, no,
One,
that
you'd
was
be
crazy.
absolutely.
That's 100 grand.
winning.
Is that
Yeah.
a Cosworth
100 grand.
one?
Doesn't
no,
Stephen
it was just
Richards
a
have
normal
one?
Lotus twin
Richo's got one, and Jim's got a couple.
Yeah.
Jim's got a
Richo's-
serious one, like a serious one.
Yeah.
Like serious Mark 1. That's
Speaking
very
of Jim
cool.
Richards, he's on Instagram.
I know.
He started
What?
following me the other day. I'm like,
Yeah, it's
you're
joking.
It's his grandkids that are doing it for
Oh,
him.
I'm
But it is
Jim
officially.
Richards is following
it
me.
is,
You're
it, is,
kidding.
it is officially from the Richards family.
That's great.
Yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
And he's on Facebook and all the rest of it. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I'm
Mate,
getting
It's
on
a,
that.
it's a dark world, Jim.
He
Get
is
off
the
it.
coolest. Oh, you can
Nah,
imagine
come on.
Richo on there? No, he's not on there.
What type of screen text size do you reckon he's running on his phone?
Jim, oh,
Jesus
mate,
Christ.
I reckon he'd
Text
be.
size.
I reckon he'd be regular, mate.
Yeah, I reckon he's
sharp
on-
as sharp
He's
as a
sharp.
Yeah,
tack,
he's
man.
very
So
sharp. man.
does Retro Round need like a veterans race
Ooh.
on the weekend?
No.
Yeah.
No.
Come on.
Hey, what's this? I read now that they're talking about making it compulsory.
Well, it's because
Well-
like over the weekend there probably wasn't as many teams
No.
doing it
Yep.
as there was in the past, and it kind of looked weird that some cars were normal, some cars
Yep.
were retro.
There
so
was some very fishy retro liveries as well.
The Milwaukee
retro
one?
liveries.
The Milwaukee.
Well,
one, but that's
the
just a
Sharon
different.
Reynolds
That was just
one,
a different
the
livery.
Fujitsu car.
Yeah,
Not sure
yeah.
they were retro. As
they weren't very retro at all.
2009
No, I mean
DBS
that's
car
why
isn't a
it's
retro
interesting.
livery.
It's interesting because then, how can a sport dictate
What
commercial arrangements within a race team?
Well, for us, for instance,
How
Monster. Arc.
What's retro about Monster?
2015
Exactly.
Scott Pye car from DVS. I mean, what can we do?
That's the thing. So
It's very difficult.
I get that they want to build. It's not novelty. What's the word? But they want to build something around.
They're trying to give the event identity.
Identity,
That's what it's all
100%.
about. They're trying
and
to
the
create
Sandown
identity.
event is 100% the right one to do it at
Yeah,
because
yeah.
it's such
Old
history
school
around
circuit,
that.
everything.
Yeah. I mean, it is like the asphalt, still old school.
Where-
So
yeah, some parts of it.
some is original. I
the
think.
fencing
The
is still old.
fencing. Yes, it is. The grandstand, that was original.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Actually,
But we're lucky in Penrite because they've got a bit of history.
Yeah,
and
they
they can
do.
actually change their logo to however they want. They're not so corporatized in, no, you have to run these colours
Yeah,
in this
and
font.
They do a good job of that.
They can do whatever.
But for example,
we want.
Red Bull, they're very particular about their
brand
logo,
makes it
their
very
which
hard.
makes
signage,
it very difficult.
which is
for them.
makes it hard. I mean, even the fact that we did the retro livery at Bathurst, I was massively surprised that
they
we
do
were
it.
doing that because I know the limitations around the
And
Red
Monster
Bull
are
stuff.
very, very
Yeah,
similar.
same,
I think a lot of
100%.
the new corporate brands are.
Yeah.
You know, and it's hard. They're the guys paying the bills, so you can imagine how those conversations are going to go
At
down.
the exact same time, we actually spoke. We had a bit of a round table with Sean Seamer on the weekend, and we were talking about it's where those quotes came from that some other outlets are running. It was he was saying you can't stop if Red Bull and Holden want to do the Bathurst livery instead of Sandown, you can't stop them either.
No.
You know, like you just can't say no. You have to do it at Sandown.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt that Red Bull and Holden did it at Bathurst to be ahead and go. We got a bit of punch.
Yeah.
We did it at Bathurst.
Stand
no
out a
one
little
else.
bit.
We stood
Yeah.
out from the crowd.
Yeah.
So and that's what
Leverage
Red Bull are
was.
very good at.
Yeah.
So
that's smart.
Leverage-wise, though, if you're talking about events and how much you get out of it, Bathurst is clearly you're getting a lot. You're on track 4 days of
the
the week.
ratings, everything.
Yeah, there's a lot more eyes on it. Where Sandown, obviously, and particularly next year, is probably not going to have the same eyeballs that it had this year.
But it's going to become more important next year to give it some sort of identity.
because it's not a 500.
Because it's not the Sandown 500
100%.
anymore. And you don't want to throw everything at Bathurst. If you make that the retro round, it's already the Bathurst 1000.
No,
it's
I
already the
agree.
biggest race of the year.
Sells itself. That
biggest
one.
race there. I always get a bit torn on something like what you guys did, which the cars looked mint. But then I think, where's the relevance to your team? But does that matter? I don't know. I get stuck in the middle of.
Does it really matter?
That's the question.
Yeah, well, that's where I think they've got the identity thing is like what you guys did looked awesome, and it 100% was a retro thing based on the JPS BMWs.
Yep.
But then you look at what BJR did with their Aussie Mail black and white cars, which was 100% to the BJR lineage.
Yeah. That's in
So
their
and that
DNA.
looked really, really
All
cool.
the Walkinshaw cars as well.
Yeah,
they look
they look
fantastic.
great. They
relevance
did.
to
But
what
then
they've
you look
done.
at what Webby did with the Bob Morris retro thing,
Yeah.
which I actually think that was the pick of the bunch. I thought that looked really
That was
smart,
super old, yeah.
really, really cool. But there's no relevance
no
to techno.
relevance at all. Yeah.
But Bob Morris was based in Sydney. That team's going to be based in Sydney next year. So
privateer hold
privateer.
sort of setup.
So I don't know whether someone very, very smart in the background's gone, no, let's just do the Sydney thing because that's where we're headed in the future.
Yep.
That's the other option would be that they just pick an year, like pick a decade or something each
And
year,
everyone
and go,
does
it's
something.
80s or it's this.
Yeah,
and
I
you
reckon
go and
that's a
pick
good
your
idea.
favourite.
That's
You
a
go
good
pick your
idea.
favourite
That's a
little
good
bit out
idea.
of that.
But you
That's
don't
a
have to
good
change the cars. You could just do your costumes, your pit gear, or
Yeah.
it doesn't have
It's
to
a
be just
big-
the
it
car.
comes
You can
in
do
expensive.
something
And it's,
small.
hey man, it's a
Yeah,
big
That's the thing we've got
bucks.
to remember. Like we keep harping on in the category about
Cutting
money.
costs.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
so
Well, what's
I
the cost
get
to
it.
wrap
We
a
need-
car? She's $3-4 grand to wrap a
Yeah.
car.
Well, it's,
And
it's
he needs
painting
spares.
And then
wheels,
and the
it's all that sort of
spares.
stuff. Like all
That's
that
why
stuff
you
costs
often
money.
painting wheels. You often see
There's a lot of
the
resource that
launch
goes into it.
photos
Yeah.
with painted wheels, and then the cars turn up with non-painted wheels. 'cause it just cost a fortune.
Dave, at one point, Davo came in with like black wheels on the car and left with red wheels on
Yeah.
the weekend. You know,
Oh,
but
it's
that's
25,
expensive
30
stuff.
grand to paint all the wheels.
Yeah.
If you're going to
Yeah.
paint your per car, paint the allocation. I remember we talked about it at GRM. It's 25, 30 grand per car
Yeah.
for the rim allocation just to get painted.
But it's
But what you guys did, you just had those like stick-on hubcaps. Remember that?
That
You did?
was
that was
before
in
I
the
went there.
Volvo
That was with
car,
the
yeah.
Volvo. But
That
they didn't
actually
race
was
for
really,
that. They
that
didn't
looked
race
really
for that.
sharp.
Yeah, but they didn't race for that.
But we are behind something like that. But it's just obviously it's got to work for everybody. We just need to come up with a concept that works for everyone and
Yeah.
they're happy to do. Because at the end of the day, when you've got hopefully 25, 26, 27 cars on the
But
grid,
it's interesting. They do it. NRL do the retro round thing quite big. Do
Yeah.
they get any
Benefit from
traction
it.
out of it?
I don't know.
Does it?
I get a
mean,
big buzz out of
be
it.
Curious, some feedback on your socials from some of your followers about do they
get behind it?
other than the change of the colour? Because one thing that actually surprises me is how much our fans love livery changes.
Yeah.
Love it, love
Yep.
it.
Yep.
But other than the livery changes, how much do the fans
Do they
embrace the retro thing?
Yeah, good idea. Well,
Because-
send
I
us your
reckon they
stuff in.
do because they turn up in all the retro gear.
Yeah.
They can dig up all their old stuff. People have full costume get-ups. They walk around the pits for the whole weekend.
That's our rusted on
Fan.
hardcore
Yeah,
supercar
yeah,
fans.
probably.
Does having a retro round bring another 5,000 people in the gate at Sandown?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it plays to those rusted on fans.
Yes.
But maybe that's like, there's all this talk at the moment. Well, I guess it's always going on about new fans, this and that. But like, you got to give something to the to the
100%.
existing
Yeah, true.
fans as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
There's such a
100%.
law, and it's something like, particularly doing this podcast, we've really seen it. Like, we've had that hardcore engagement with proper fans. It's an important group of people as well. It's easy to lose sight of that. When,
You don't want to
know.
alienate.
Yeah,
alienate
you
them.
can't
No
afford
way.
to.
Well, let's cover it quickly. Picks for Newcastle.
Far out.
It's hard to look past Triple Eight at the moment. I think.
I reckon it's going to be a good old-fashioned Giz and Scotty battle
Knock them
for
down,
the weekend.
drag them out.
I reckon they're going to be
I
going
reckon
at
it'll be
it.
a 1-2, Triple Eight 1-2. I don't know which way, but I reckon.
I think you'll see a very highly motivated Shane Van Gisbergen.
Yeah.
What about how do you?
Oh man, he's dark at the moment.
When he's
Actually, can I say something about him? He's actually turned a corner within his person. Like
What
he's
are you
become,
saying?
well, like
You guys
he feels like
shook
he's a
and
lot
make up
more
from 10 years ago.
approachable, and he's become much more of a human. I think. The way he talks,
He's a big believer of the Co-Driver Cup. He put something up on the
honestly,
weekend.
Did he?
I know, but honestly, you must agree.
I have noticed a change in him this year.
He's been a lot.
Absolutely.
He's been a lot. He seems like he's become much more approachable, much more human about things. And I don't know,
I actually
it's
think
just-
he's
He's always been like that for me.
yeah, same for me. But
really?
it must
Maybe
just
I'm
be
just-
one of us on the here.
I don't know.
I
I
think
think he's done a good job.
having
within himself
spent
to
a bit
sort
of time with him, I think he's actually misjudged and
100%.
misunderstood because he's actually a very shy person, a really shy individual that doesn't like
the limelight.
the limelight.
No,
Yeah,
he
okay.
hates the media stuff.
Not
because he's a bad
yeah,
person.
Not that he,
just
hates
doesn't
it
like
because he doesn't
doing
want to do it.
Exactly.
He's not comfortable
Yeah.
doing a lot of
Yeah.
it. So,
But I think we all probably started like that.
yeah. But everyone's different,
everyone's
mate.
got
And
different
everyone grows
personality.
into it. You've grown into you, whatever you are. And and I remember when I started, I used to shit myself before
everyone
when the
did.
cameras came on.
Everyone did.
And so everyone does it differently. So I actually, like I say, I've known him since he started in supercars, raced against him from his first ever race. But
Me too, mate.
yeah.
You raced against a lot of people.
Yeah, I've raced against pretty much all of them. But getting
20
known
years, bro,
closer.
you're gonna race everyone.
Yeah. I think he's changed a bit this year. I agree
Yeah.
with that. I've talked to a
Do you-
few people this weekend about it.
Do you know if he listens to our show?
Nah.
No, I don't think so.
I was
This
gonna
show's
say, I
not.
was gonna be
This,
like,
this
come
show
on,
ain't
come
for
on.
that type of person.
I was going to say, come on, Shane, come on.
He's
he'd come on.
He does the
Would he come on?
He does
Yeah,
one of
he
our
would.
rival podcasts quite regularly. He was on
Pedal.
Stubbsy's
yeah.
deal the other week.
No, he'd
but
come on. He loves it. He's
Loves the
good
art.
for a laugh.
Yeah.
Yeah. But really, like I said, I think quite shy.
Yep.
And
we'll get it out
And
of
very private. Very, very private.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very
And
private.
that- and so
that's-
it-
and
We'll
that's
dig deep.
Yeah.
It
We
happens
dig
a
deep.
lot.
No, just private in what he shares, effectively.
It happens a lot in sport where people that are shy and private come across as looking arrogant
And distant,
and, there's
and
and
distant,
it's
yeah.
absolutely not the case.
Yeah.
It's absolutely not
Yeah.
not the case at all.
Dave, how are you going to go Newcastle, mate? Well,
Oh, reigning winner last time we were there. You
Yeah.
walked
Yeah,
away.
strong.
Are
You
we-
have a strong
Yeah,
car
our
there.
car's been really good at street
it's
tracks.
a Commodore, so Opal. Opal Commodore. What do we call it?
Mate, how long? Hey, didn't you race one this year, mate? You can't be saying that.
Yeah, you can't be.
Well, I can say whatever I want.
No,
That's
no,
what this
no.
podcast is all about. We say what we want.
No ramifications.
It's not about ramifications. You don't have to listen to this podcast.
right,
You got to download
so
it.
you'll be strong.
Yeah,
we
car's
haven't heard
quite
your.
No, Cam will be very strong. He's got
no,
like
you don't-
4 sets of greens sitting
he?
there after what happened on the weekend. So
Okay, so
he'll
he's
be
got
very
base
strong in
P1 in
practice.
practice.
Well,
Line,
it'll help. It helps. You know what it's
I've
like.
got 7 sets of greens.
Oh,
here we go.
Oh, yeah, because you
Well,
didn't.
mate,
you can only
6.
take 3.
Well, there you go.
It's going to be like the top
So you'll
10
be quick
shootout
in
in practice one.
I'll be
at
quick in
Tail and Bend next year too.
Yeah.
I'm always a Friday special.
Well, you can't run
No,
softs
no
at
tie
Tailem
bank.
Bend.
No tie
Nah,
banks.
they'll
remember.
change that. They'll.
What do you mean? There's no
I
softs at Tail and
reckon
Bend?
next year's Tail and
Well,
Bend
you run hard
round.
to Tail and Bend.
Nah,
they've
they'll
gotta
change
make us
that.
run
mate.
Yeah, they do
softs.
have to make it softs, 100%.
Let's just agree on here that, hey, Sean, do what you got to do, mate. Softs, Tail and Bend
I
next
think
year.
they 100% need to test the softs at the test
Yeah.
there in January
What
or
are we gonna
February,
worry? Let's
whenever
set a
it's.
test. Just throw them on.
Nah, they're worried about the tyre
The load.
construction through the triple right out the back.
Really?
Yeah, worried about failure there. But for the 500 there,
How good was that race when all the soft tyres failed at
Oh, it was awesome.
yeah, it's good.
Phillip Island?
Dunlop loved it. Yeah.
No, but you,
Yeah.
Commercial
what did you
partner.
come second?
Third?
Third,
Second or
yeah.
third? Second.
I was watching. It was great.
Yeah.
I blew 2 tyres.
No,
at
but I
Cape
think
Vic.
for the 500 there, given we're going there for the 500 next year, it needs to be on the soft tyre.
Yeah,
there needs to be
100%.
some deck. Otherwise, the race is going to be quite stretched out.
Yeah.
And
And it's a long track, so it can be really stretched. You know, like
that's the field spread will be huge there if they don't create some deg and some strategy around all that. So they definitely need to test that.
well,
in January.
let's be everything we say on here normally happens.
So
So, you know,
given it, yeah.
We predicted a lot of stuff.
We have this year.
Unfortunately, predicted a lot of stuff. Don't know whose fortune it is, but
So you reckon the executive of Supercars just wait every Monday
They
for the pod to
they
come
listen
out?
in.
probably.
They probably wait and know what they should do for Newcastle. No, I don't know.
What are you doing the rest of the day?
Yeah, mate. What do you got on?
I've got to go pick the kids up from school, and then we've got karate this
Karate.
after school.
Is it
Actually,
Karakushi?
Scarlett's on camp at the moment, so I don't have to pick her up. It's just Sebastian and I this afternoon.
Karakushi.
The boys.
Leanne's at work. So.
Is there any go-karts in the shed? Is there
Yeah,
anything
there's a
going on there?
go-kart in the shed. We were out the other day. We were out on Melbourne Cup Day.
Yeah.
Both of them. It's only got one for them to share at the moment until they're
Just like us.
serious about it.
Not into the horses.
Yeah,
we
so
need a
we're,
pot on.
so we're out karting and
Why do they do karate?
Sebastian does karate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I had something like. I wish I did
It's
something like
actually
that
meant
as
to
a
be a
kid.
very good discipline for kids. isn't it? Is it a
He
good
wanted to
sensei?
do it. He wanted to do it. Yeah, he has to do
Like
it from
the sensei
he's 6.
hammers them and
100%.
cool. Like
From
old
the
school
age of
sense.
6, like he's only just started, but man, they're into him. Like you got to do this, got to do that.
Yeah.
And mate, they get it's not
They
they
get
get into
drilled.
trouble, but they get drilled.
Yeah.
Do this, do this, do this. So
What belt are
it
we on?
creates. Oh mate, we'll start white belt.
White belt.
So it creates, and the amount of people that say, oh, get your kids into karate, get your kids into karate. And I didn't do it as a kid, didn't know anything about it. The amount of people that have said do it, it's great for their temperament, it's great for their
I've heard kids are
discipline,
shy.
structure,
Respect.
and
Respect.
all that sort of stuff. So the young fella, he's not a rat bag, but he goes pretty hard. So it's good for him just to straighten
Who
up.
does he take after, you or Leanne?
Oh, his mum for sure.
I would have benefited from doing karate or something like that as a kid. Would have given me some structure, some discipline.
Yeah,
in
you
my
took up a
life.
bit of martial arts later in life.
Yeah,
didn't you?
later in
there
life,
was a
and
bit
that's
of,
probably
bit
why
of
I,
kickboxing.
Yeah, I still
MMA,
do a
yeah?
bit, yeah. But that's probably I wish I actually started that as a young tacker.
Do you reckon you would have been a better MMA fighter than you are a race car
look at me,
driver?
I got my mum's body. Like I'm skinny.
Are
no
you saying
muscle
your
on me.
dad's? Are you saying your dad's got a bit of weight carrying around?
Well, he's like Homer Simpson.
Yeah. Didn't you? Where you made reference to his weight on TV or something on the weekends,
I?
didn't you? Yeah, something about a dentist. I think
Oh, I
Murph
can't
after you
remember.
had a dent. I don't know. Can't remember.
I had a sore tooth, and they
That's
said I
right.
know a good dentist. I said he's my fat bald old man.
That's it. That's what it was.
I love my dad. I love you. My favourite.
You got a very
Favourite
strange
dad I've
you
ever
got a
had.
very, best dad you've ever had.
Well, thanks for coming on, GT,
Yes.
boys.
Pleasure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
it's
well done,
been
brother.
congratulations again.
Good campaign.
It's,
Looking forward
Very,
to
very-
defending my cup next
Hey,
year.
there we go.
It was
Yeah,
almost as good
it's
as
already
Donald Trump's
started.
campaign.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I reckon.
Yeah,
Next year,
preparations
mate,
have already started.
I'm looking.
You said that this year, mate. You didn't even turn up.
Nah, next year we're going to do it bigger and better. We're going to up the. We're gonna up the
No.
prices.
We've got to start engraving it all on
Is
here
that perpetual?
every
yeah.
year. This has got to be perpetual. So you've
Is
got to
it?
change this to
Notes young players
And
never
then-
drink out of perpetual cups.
and then yes, and then start
Stories.
engraving them.
Stories, or like send me photos of you drinking out of a
Yeah.
perpetual cup, because no doubt I've teabagged it.
Is there a particular trophy you're talking about? Because there's one trophy that stands above all trophies,
It is like you can put stuff in there and drink out of it, and
and we're talking about the Peter Brock Trophy.
yes, we are.
I was just thinking, what title am I going to use for this episode? And thank you very much. I've got it. That's great.
Well, there you go.
That is great. We've done it.
Always
You
good.
absolute beauty.
Thanks, boys and girls.
Thanks,
We'll see you
everyone.
soon.
Bye.
Ciao.